Daredevil 2003 with Ben Affleck.
How can you see into
Oh my God.
my eyes like open doors?
I forgot. That was beautiful, by the way, Josh. That was beautiful. Also, we can't post this on YouTube because you sang for more than 10 seconds. So I'm pretty sure it's copyrighted because you sounded just like her. Holy crap. I didn't realize how much music. I forgot how much music they used to use in movies.
Oh, the early 2000s was a great time to be alive. I'm telling you right now.
Even from like the cheesy, the intros, like movies don't do that anymore. They just kind of cut right in. Like, oh, we only have this time run. But like the animated like city names flipping over. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a 2000s movie. I forgot. Oh my God. There's so many. Who wants to start? Because I got notes here of some funny shit that happens.
Right. You know, I'll start on this one because we already know where Josh is going with this. So, so when I originally saw this movie back in 2003, and then multiple times thereafter, I was absolutely fucking in love with this movie. I thought it was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever fucking seen. I love it. Going back and watching it for the sole purpose of reviewing, there were some issues that I had with it, but it still didn't take away from what I actually thought of the movie. So, yes, there was a shit ton of story and life and everything crammed into a very tight fucking movie. So the runtime on this was 90 minutes on the dot.
Was it? Okay.
Which it feels the movie feels a lot longer than 90 minutes.
I think it was like 90 minutes.
Yeah, it feels long.
But there was a lot. It was like they crammed the entire Daredevil story, beginning to pretty much fucking end, into a 90-minute frame. And that's where I think the movie suffered in totality for it.
That's the problem with the theatrical version. Like,
yes.
The director's cut does flesh it out a lot more.
I believe that 100%.
Leave it to me to see the director's cut of 2003's Daredevil.
But I mean, there were some parts of the movie where there's stuff like that. That's not Daredevil. Daredevil's not flying around doing weird acrobatics off of fucking top of buildings and fucking, I'm gonna surf down some fucking wires and shit. It's like, no, that's not Daredevil. But
oh my God.
But all in all, I mean, it was still, I thought it was fun. It was a good movie to watch. And especially for the time, again, 2003, there were a lot of the cinematography that we have now wasn't available then, or the technology was nowhere near what it needed to be to do what they were trying to do.
Quick cuts and fights are evident. Like, you just like, well, we don't have the choreography to do this, so just cut it. Like, cut it quickly so it looks like there's more happening.
And there was a lot of quick cuts going on in that, and I was like, wow. But again, when you watch it when you're younger and you see it, it's like, this is cool. And then you go back and watch it as a critical standpoint, and I was like, okay, I can see why people were disappointed with this, but I still liked it.
I'll say, because we know where Josh is going with it.
Fuck you guys.
I love that. Like, there's some like bizarro funny things to me in this movie. Like, him as a kid fighting was hilarious.
Yes.
The weird thing, like the random bullies just bullying to bully. Like, first they're bullying because he's a little scrawny kid. Then they're bullying him because he's blind.
It's like what is happening? Like, we're going to hell, my friend.
This like,
oh my God,
kid, you were bullying this kid, and then he lost his fucking eyesight, and now you're like, let's beat up the blind
fight
kid.
Me.
Like, Jesus Christ, man! You're gonna beat up the blind, and then like Kingpin laughing because he killed the Elektra's father, and you're like, Jesus, man! Like, at the funeral, he just starts laughing and gets in his car. You're like, oh my God, man!
Why can't you even go, you prick?
Why did you show up to that? Oh, yeah. This like, instead of using original scores, they use like actual music to score it. It's just
early 2000s, man.
I will say, thinking about it,
those songs were fire.
They were. Thinking about it, I do respect a lot of the movies that didn't rely on these world-ending events. Like this was a self-contained, like just beat up the bad guy type thing. Where, and also like their powers in these movies are, while ridiculous at some points, are way more scaled down. Where it feels like nowadays everybody's fucking Superman, where people are getting thrown through windows and, you know, thrown through walls and just like kind of, oh, okay, cool. And you're like, wow, dude, like everybody is a overblown superhero where there's no scaling to who is really actually strong. But this one keeps it grounded. Although, wow, the fact that Elektra gets stabbed through the hand with the sai and then just keeps fighting with that hand. I'm like, okay, all right. And then Bullseye gets shot through the hand and so he's out of commission. I'm just watching it like, hey, you should be fine. She was fine. You stabbed her in the hand and she still fought you pretty well. But I don't know. It's
his only thing were his hands.
Yeah.
My hands.
My hands.
You took my hands.
Also, I didn't realize the Bullseye post-credit scene. That was I had forgotten that back in the day.
Oh,
Was this one of the first like superhero movies with a post-credit scene? Like a mid post-credit scene?
Probably not. I think X-Men had one.
Yeah.
I believe the first one, X-Men had one.
Yeah, it just, this movie felt really from the era before they figured out like the system for making comic book movies. And this one, like, before they really figured it out. And this one kind of, like you said, goes over the entire like first 2 seasons of Daredevil. I feel like in one 90-minute movie to introduce so many characters and like hyper speed, and it's not bad. I overall didn't love it. I probably will never watch it again, but I do respect it for what it was. It's weird that we got Elektra, but we never got another Daredevil, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Right, yeah, we did get that Elektra movie, which was fucking terrible.
Yeah, you could tell it was going to be. Bad. I mean, I don't know who watched this one and said, like, you know what, we need more of her, because she was not good in this. Yeah. I don't think Jennifer Garner was good in this movie at all. Yeah.
I stand corrected. It wasn't 90 minutes. It was 1 hour 43 minutes. So
yeah,
it was an extra 13 minutes there.
Yeah, it felt it. To me, it felt it. I mean, partially because I had to pause it a few times to do stuff, but it felt like, okay, let's. I say that, but it did kind of. The second act ends, and then it just gets to the end where it's going pretty quick, and then there's like 3 boss battles, and then that was it. But all right, Josh, what is your? Let's I want to hear what you. Now, when was the last time you saw this movie? Pre this?
I mean, I watch this movie probably once a year. I always find myself back to this movie. I mean, this movie came out the gate and I loved it. I remember being a kid and loving this movie. I think one of the flaws of this movie is they wanted Daredevil to be Spider-Man so bad. They wanted the characters to match up so bad that it was like you started hindering on the character of Daredevil because you wanted him to be Spider-Man so bad. But when I'm a kid, you got to remember this movie came out while I'm in elementary school. I'm a little kid, and this movie I thought was fire. So because I think if I watched this movie as an adult, I probably wouldn't go back to it as much. But the rewatch value of it to me is insane. I can watch this movie. I'll watch this movie last week. I'll watch this movie 2 weeks from now. 4 weeks from now. I'll watch this movie every 2 weeks. If you let me. And I will enjoy this movie. I love Daredevil. Love this movie. I mean, if you go into it with the mindset of, I'm just here to have fun. We're not we have this climate of superhero movies where they want the tone to be real serious and everything. You know, we were even talking about it with Ant-Man. Like, all these movies, because of Endgame and Infinity War, are put on this pedestal, you know, that we look for that in superhero movies. But this came out in a time where, yes, we got a couple of those, but that's not what we were looking for. So
Exactly.
this movie and the time that it came out, I think, is incredible. I mean, again, you go in with the mindset of, I'm just here to have fun. You're gonna have fun if you watch it through that lens. If you watch Colin Farrell be Bullseye, you know, you're gonna have a good time. I think Ben Affleck, with the script that he was handed, did the best. I can't imagine anybody doing any better than Ben Affleck did with the script that he was given. You know, if you
I liked him as Matt Murdock.
I did.
I liked him as
me too. And I think
really
if you
good.
gave that script to Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil in the series, I think it would have been garbage. I don't think Charlie Cox would have pulled that off because it's a very different movie or series or script. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another thing, I love the suit. The only thing I have a problem with the suit is the nose, which is kind of a weird thing, but I wish it covered his nose a little bit more. But overall, other than that, I think the suit looks fire. Some of the powers they give him is kind of weird. I don't understand how he can leap buildings. You know, he's got this super strength where he can leap buildings, but he's throwing punches like a regular fucking guy. I mean, the movie's telling us he's like this fucking ninja, but when you look at it, he gets fucked up by most of the people that he's fighting in the movie.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that's the Spider-Man. That's the Spider-Man aspect that you were going to.
That's the thing where they're like, we want him to be Spider-Man. We want him to leap buildings. He jumps off a building and leans on those fucking little platforms that the cleaning crew works on. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. But, you know, we talked about it earlier. There's certain movies, you know, you got to turn your brain off, but not completely. You know, and I don't think you have to completely turn your brain off, but you have to give this movie that leeway or you're not going to enjoy it because it's not that kind of movie. It's just not. So if you go into it knowing that, I believe that you'll have a great time. But when you start to nitpick, like, oh, where did he get his suit? You know, when you start to think about little things like that, it's like, oh, this movie is so bad. This movie is absolute garbage. But if you look through it through the lens of this movie was made for the audience to purely just have a good time, I think you'll enjoy the movie. I really do. I mean, one thing I do want to point out is I watched this movie on one of my TVs that has a higher frame rate. And the frame rate during the park scene where Matt Murdock is fighting Elektra was terrible. Watching that scene in a higher frame rate, it's like they're doing a choreographed dance. It's so bad. And then another thing, if you're watching it through this lens where you're taking it too seriously, why is she fighting this blind man? It's a lose-lose situation. If you beat this blind man, it's like, oh, you beat a blind man. If you lose to this blind man, you lost to a blind man. It's a lose-lose situation.
You can nitpick with it, like why did he killed that other gangster guy, but then he lets Kingpin live.
No,
I mean, I guess you could say that's his arc, but it's like a weird.
That's one of the.
Why were you? He straight up murders that guy in the beginning, and you're like, I forgot. People. I was like, wait, is Daredevil just like a discount Batman, but actually kills people? And then he just stops with that and just kind of lets people like be like. I mean, I guess he kills Bullseye, and then
no, he doesn't. I guess he kills Bullseye. Here's the thing: like when you start nitpicking this movie like that. God, this movie is so fucking bad. He doesn't kill Kingpin because I'm not the bad guy. 20 minutes prior, you took Bullseye after like putting holes through his hands and you threw him out a fucking window. You threw him out a fucking window.
Like 100
You're not
feet
the
up,
bad
too.
guy. You're an absolute murderer. You are not the Daredevil from the comics. You are not the Daredevil from the Daredevil series. It doesn't make sense. I'm not the bad guy, kid. You're dressed like the devil. God
Your
damn
name
it.
is Daredevil.
You're literally dressed like a devil. I'm not the bad guy, kid. You're confused as to why this little boy is looking at you like, holy fucking shit.
You got horns, bro. You have horns on your head.
You're dressed like the fucking devil. Like,
Yeah.
it's when you try to nitpick, it's not that kind of movie. And again, I'll reiterate what I've said multiple times again. If you watch it through that lens of I'm here to have a good time, I think you'll have a good time. I don't think it's so bad like Morbius. You know,
No.
I got 15, 20 minutes into Morbius and I was like, okay, let me put that lens on to watch this movie through that lens. This feels like a 2003, 2004, 2005 superhero movie. Let me put that lens on, and that movie still was fucking garbage to me.
Yeah.
But when you watch Daredevil,
Jon Favreau is
Jon
Favreau as the sidekick, the plucky sidekick.
He's incredible as Foggy.
Yeah.
As Foggy, he's an incredible
Love him as Foggy.
Foggy.
Yeah.
He has some of the funniest lines in that movie. I mean, Jon Favreau has always been a great actor. His comedic timing has always been great, and I think that's what not only makes him a great actor, but also has always made him a great director. Is because he has that comedic timing. He knows, you know, what could please the audience. I think him as Foggy Nelson. I mean, guys, when you look at this movie on paper, right? Let's say we were given a script. You know, we kind of skim through the script like, yeah, it's this darker superheroes going through this darker things. You have Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. You had Colin Farrell as Bullseye. You have Ben Affleck as Daredevil. On paper, this is the greatest fucking superhero movie that was ever made.
Early 2000s, yeah.
In the 2000s, when you look at it on paper. And what I really love about it is Michael Clark Duncan and Colin Farrell came into this silly movie and really, they didn't completely let themselves go into how bad the movie is. They gave the best performances they could, but not overdoing it. You know, it didn't feel like, oh, you're giving this strong performance that doesn't belong in this film. You know what I mean? They were like, no, this movie's kind of silly. I know the level I need to take it, and I'm going to take it to that maximum level. I think Michael Clark Duncan was a phenomenal Kingpin. I think Colin Farrell was a phenomenal Bullseye in the universe, in the movie that they created. Yeah, yes. On paper, this is one of the best fucking superhero movies you could possibly come up with. And again, I think Ben Affleck, with the script that he was given, because I love Ben Affleck, I think he did the best that he could. And
agreed.
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking for mad long, but you know,
this
movie.
That's why we let you go last.
Yeah, this movie. I mean, guys, I will never go on record trying to say this is the best superhero movie ever, but I absolutely adore this film. I wish we got a sequel to it. And I think that the movie fully understood what it was and played to it. And if you can do that, you know, if you're trying to create this serious superhero movie and it's fucking trash, that's a different story. But this movie understood what it was. And I will give it all the props for that. And that's why it's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Because it understood what it was and it went for it. And I think it pulled it off, what it went for.
All right, Ginty, let's give him a 27-minute standing ovation.
Hold on.
Hey!
Well,
hello there. It looks like you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. We really do appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button if you liked what we saw. Leave some comments for any topics that you'd like us to discuss. We're always looking for feedback, and we'd like to hear what you think. If you want to check out some more clips of ours, here's a couple right here. Enjoy, and again, thanks for watching.